The station floated in the darkness between stars. It was old. Older than human civilization. Older than most species in the galaxy could remember. The Galactic Council had met here for 10,000 years, and in all that time, they had never invited a species like humanity. Una Park stood at the window of her shuttle and watched the station grow larger. It was shaped like a flower with 100 petals, each one a docking bay for a different species. Lights blinked across its surface like stars brought down from the sky. "Ambassador," said Tae-Sung Kwan from behind her. "We dock in 5 minutes." Una turned to face her security chief. He was a tall man with gray at his temples and scars on his hands. They had known each other for 20 years. He had saved her life twice. She trusted him more than anyone. "Are you nervous?" she asked. "I am always nervous when politicians gather," he said. "They smile while they sharpen knives." Una laughed softly. "Then stay close. Keep your eyes open, always." The shuttle docked with a gentle vibration. The doors opened, and Una stepped onto the station for the first time. The air smelled strange. It was filtered for 100 different species, and the result was something that belonged to no world at all. A group of council attendants waited for them. They were scrivens, a species of tall beings with skin like polished stone and eyes that glowed soft blue. Their leader bowed its head. "Ambassador Park," it said, "High Arbiter Mollix welcomes you. Please follow us." They walked through corridors that curved like the inside of a shell. Other species passed them. Some looked at the humans with curiosity. Others looked with fear. A few looked with open hatred. Una kept her face calm. She had prepared for this moment her whole life. 50 years ago, humanity had made first contact with the galaxy. 50 years of proving themselves. 50 years of being watched, tested, and judged. Today, she would ask the Council for something no human had ever asked before: full membership. The Council chamber was vast. It rose in circles like an ancient theater, with seats for representatives of 300 species. Most of them were filled. Una walked to the center platform and looked up at the faces watching her. High Arbiter Mollix sat at the highest point. He was old even for a scriven. His stone skin had cracked with age, and his eyes burned brighter than the others. He raised one hand, and the chamber fell silent. "Ambassador Una Park of Earth," he said. "You may speak." Una took a breath. She thought of everyone who had worked to bring her to this moment. The scientists who had cured diseases. The diplomats who had built bridges. The soldiers who had kept peace. All of them had given her this chance. "High Arbiter," she began. "Honored counselors, I come before you not as a conqueror or a beggar. I come as a neighbor who wishes to be a friend." She activated a display behind her. Images appeared. Human doctors treating alien patients. Human engineers building stations in distant systems. Human ships carrying supplies to worlds struck by disaster. "For 50 years, humanity has proven itself," she said. "We have shared our medicine freely. We have asked for nothing in return except the chance to be part of something greater than ourselves. Today, I ask you to grant us that chance. Let us join the Council. Let us work beside you. Let us build a future together." The chamber was quiet. Then a voice cut through the silence like a blade. Pretty words from a dangerous species. Una turned. The speaker was Councilor Vethris of the Haloran Dominance. He was unlike the scrivens. His body was thin and sharp, covered in scales that shifted color with his mood. Right now, they were dark red, the color of anger. "Humans breed like insects," Vethris said. "They spread to every world they touch. They adapt to environments that would kill any sensible species. And they feel emotions so strongly that they become unpredictable, dangerous." "We are survivors," Una said calmly. That is not a crime. Not yet, Vethris replied. But give them time. Give them seats on this council, and they will want more. They always want more. It is their nature. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Una saw doubt on many faces. The Hellerans had been on the council for 8,000 years. Their words carried weight. I call for a tribunal, Vethris said suddenly. I have evidence that humanity has been building weapons in secret. Weapons that violate council law. The chamber erupted. High Arbiter Mollix struck his staff against the floor, demanding order. This is a serious accusation, Mollix said. What evidence do you present? Vethris smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. He activated his own display, and images appeared. Ships, weapons, military stations hidden in asteroid fields. Una felt her heart go cold. She recognized some of the images. They were real, but they were defense platforms built to protect Earth from pirates and raiders. Nothing that violated any law. These are defensive installations, she said. We have hidden nothing. The council was informed of every. The council was given false reports, Vethris interrupted. These weapons are offensive in nature. These ships are designed for conquest. Humanity has been preparing for war while pretending to seek peace. That is a lie. But her voice was lost in the noise. Counselors were shouting. Some demanded investigation. Others demanded immediate action. Taesum moved closer to Una. His hand rested on the weapon at his hip. Ambassador, he whispered. We need to leave, now. Before Una could respond, guards appeared. They were not scrivens. They were Haloran soldiers in black armor. Ambassador Una Park, one of them announced. You are under arrest for espionage against the Galactic Council. This is wrong. Una shouted. I demand to speak with Earth. I demand legal representation. No one listened. The soldiers grabbed her arms. Taesum moved to stop them, but more guards appeared. They struck him with weapons that crackled with energy. He fell to his knees. Taesum! Una cried. He looked up at her. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead, but his eyes were clear, focused. I will tell them, he said quietly. I will tell Earth what happened here. The guards dragged Una away. She looked back one last time and saw Taesum being held by more soldiers. She saw the council members watching in silence. She saw Vethris smiling his cold smile. Then the doors closed, and she saw nothing at all. In a cell deep within the station. Una sat alone. The walls were smooth and white. There was no window, no sound, nothing but silence and the weight of what had just happened. She had come offering peace. She had come with open hands and an open heart. And they had called her a spy. Somewhere above her, the council was deciding her fate. Somewhere out there, Taesum was fighting to reach a ship, to send a message home. Una closed her eyes. She thought of Earth, blue oceans, green forests, the sound of rain on her childhood home. She thought of everyone who had believed in her. I tried, she whispered to no one. I tried. But trying, she was beginning to understand, might not be enough. The trial lasted 3 hours. It should have lasted weeks. But the council had already made its decision before Una ever entered the chamber. She stood in the center of a ring of light. Around her, counselors watched from their elevated seats. Their faces showed nothing. No sympathy. No doubt. Only cold judgment. High Arbiter Mollix read the charges. Espionage. Conspiracy to commit war. Deception of the Galactic Council. Each word fell like a stone into water, creating ripples that would spread across the galaxy. How does the accused respond? Mollix asked. Una lifted her head. She had not slept. She had not eaten. But her voice was steady. I am innocent, she said. The evidence against me is false. I came here to build peace, not to wage war. Every action humanity has taken was within council law. I demand the right to present my own evidence. I demand the right to question my accusers. Lethras rose from his seat. His scales were pale yellow today, the color of satisfaction. The council has reviewed all evidence, he said. The tribunal finds no need for further testimony. The matter is clear. The matter is a lie. Una shouted. You manufactured this. You planned this from the beginning. Guards moved toward her, but she did not stop. You fear us, she continued. You fear what humanity might become. So you decided to destroy us before we could grow. This trial is not justice. It is murder dressed in legal clothing. The chamber was silent. For a moment, Una thought she saw uncertainty on some faces. Perhaps doubt. Perhaps even shame. Then Moloch spoke. The council will now vote on the sentence. One by one, the councilors pressed their controls. Lights appeared on a display above the chamber. Green for mercy. Red for death. Red lights filled the display. So many red lights that they looked like a wound in the darkness. The vote is decided, Moloch announced. His voice was flat, empty. Ambassador Unipark is sentenced to molecular dissolution. The sentence will be carried out immediately. Una felt the world tilt beneath her feet. Molecular dissolution. The worst punishment the council could give. Her body would be broken down atom by atom. There would be nothing left. No body to send home. No grave for her family to visit. No, she whispered. No, you cannot do this. But they could. And they would dot far across the station. Taesung Kwan ran. The guards had held him for hours. They had questioned him, threatened him, but they had made a mistake. They had underestimated how much a human could endure. When his chance came, he took it. A guard turned away for one moment. One moment was enough. Taesung struck fast and hard. The guard fell. Taesung took his weapon and ran. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Lights flashed red. But Taesung did not stop. He had memorized the station layout months ago. He knew where the shuttle bays were. He knew which ships were fast enough to outrun pursuit. He also knew he was already too late to save Yuna. The thought burned in his chest like fire. He had failed her. He had promised to protect her, and he had failed. But he could still do one thing. He could tell Earth what happened. He could make sure the galaxy knew the truth. A Halaran patrol appeared ahead of him. 4 soldiers in black armor. Taesung did not slow down. He fired twice. 2 soldiers fell. The others returned fire, but Taesung was already moving, sliding behind a support beam, then sprinting through a side door. The shuttle bay was close now. He could see the doors ahead. Just 50 meters more. Something struck his shoulder. Pain exploded through his body. He stumbled but kept running. The doors opened. Ships waited inside. Silent and ready. He chose a small courier vessel. Fast. Built for speed, not comfort. He climbed inside and sealed the hatch behind him. Blood dripped from his shoulder onto the controls. Come on, he muttered. Come on. The engines fired. The shuttle lifted off the deck. More guards poured into the bay, firing weapons that splashed against the ship's shields. Taesung punched the acceleration. The shuttle shot through the bay doors and into open space. Stars wheeled around him as he turned toward Earth. He opened a communication channel. Maximum power. Maximum range. Earth Command, this is Taesung Kwan. Priority Alpha transmission. Ambassador Unipark has been arrested on false charges. The Council plans to execute her. I repeat, the Council plans to execute Ambassador Park. Send help. Please, send help. The message went out at the speed of light. It would take time to reach Earth. Too much time, but it was all he could do. On the station, they broadcast the execution to every corner of the galaxy. Every species watched. Every world received the signal. The Council wanted everyone to see what happened to those who threatened galactic peace. Una stood in a white room. The dissolution chamber hummed around her. Machines pointed at her from every angle, ready to tear her apart. She was not afraid. She had thought she would be afraid, but she was not. She felt only sadness. Sadness for the future that would never come. Sadness for the peace that would now be impossible. A camera floated before her. Its lens caught her face and sent it across the stars. "Do you have final words?" A voice asked from somewhere above. Una looked into the camera. She thought of Earth. She thought of her parents, long dead now but still alive in her memory. She thought of Tae-sung and hoped he had escaped. "I came in peace," she said. Her voice was calm, clear. "I offered friendship. I asked for nothing except the chance to work together. You answered with lies and murder." She paused. Somewhere, she knew, humans were watching. Millions of them. Billions, perhaps. "Remember that," she continued. "Remember that we came with open hands. Remember what they did to us. And remember that humanity does not forget." The machines activated. Light surrounded her. For one moment, she felt warmth. Then she felt nothing at all. Unipark dissolved into atoms and scattered into the void. On Earth, President G1 Beek watched the broadcast in her office. She was a small woman with silver hair and eyes that had seen too much. She had led humanity through crises before. Economic collapse, environmental disaster, the chaos of first contact. But she had never seen anything like this. The screen went dark. Una was gone. The Council logo appeared, and a voice announced that justice had been served. G-1 turned off the display. Her hands did not shake. Her face showed nothing. But inside, something had changed. Something had broken and reformed into something harder. Admiral Dong Hashin stood beside her. He was a tall man built like a mountain, with a face carved from stone. He had commanded Earth's defense fleet for 15 years. He had never lost a battle. "Madam President," he said quietly, "what are your orders?" G1 did not answer immediately. She walked to her window and looked out at the city below. Millions of people lived there. People who had watched the same broadcast. People who were now feeling the same thing she felt. Rage. Cold, patient rage. "The Council thinks we are weak," she finally said. "They think we are primitives playing at civilization. They think they can murder our people and face no consequences." She turned to face the Admiral. "They are wrong." Dong Hashin straightened. "What do you need?" "Everything," G1 said. "Wake the sleeping giant, Admiral. Show them what humanity becomes when you take away our hope for peace." The Admiral nodded once. Then he left to make calls that would change history. Outside the window, the sun was setting. Orange light spilled across the city, painting everything in the colors of fire. Soon, that fire would spread across the stars. The Council had wanted to send the message. They had succeeded, but they had forgotten something important about messages. They travel both ways. The galaxy had believed humanity possessed 12 warships. Old vessels, slow, built for defense and little else. The Council's intelligence report said so. The Hellerans had confirmed it. Everyone knew that humans were weak. Everyone was wrong. Admiral Dong Hashin stood on the bridge of the battleship, resolved, and watched his fleet assemble. Ships emerged from hidden places across the solar system. They came from deep beneath the surface of Mars, where shipyards had worked in secret for 30 years. They came from Europa, rising through the ice like metal whales breaching frozen seas. They came from the asteroid belt, where mining operations had hidden weapons factories, 147 warships, each one armed with weapons the Council had never seen, each one crewed by men and women who had watched the same broadcast, who had seen Unipark dissolve into nothing while the galaxy applauded. Captain Hyrin No stood beside the Admiral. She was young for a captain, barely 40 years old, but she had earned her rank through skill and courage. Her ship, the Resolve, was the largest in the fleet, a symbol of everything humanity had built in secret. "All ships report ready," she announced. "Jump coordinates locked. Awaiting your order, Admiral." Dong Ha Shin looked at the display before him. It showed the galaxy spread out like a map. The Council Station, Halorn Space, the borders of 100 different territories. All of them had watched Yuna die. None of them had spoken against it. "Open a channel," he said. "All ships." The communication officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." The Admiral spoke, and his voice reached every ship in the fleet. 72 hours ago, the Galactic Council murdered Ambassador Unipark. They called it justice. They called it necessary. They broadcast it across the stars so that every species could see what happens to humans who reach too high. He paused. On every ship, crews stood at their stations and listened. They wanted to teach us fear. They wanted to show us our place. They thought we would bow our heads and accept their judgment. His voice hardened. They were wrong. We are not a species that bows. We are not a species that forgets. We are humanity. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day, and we survived. We fought each other for thousands of years, and we survived. We faced every challenge the universe could throw at us, and we survived. He raised his hand. Now we will show them what survival looks like. We will show them the fury they have awakened, not for conquest, not for revenge, but for justice, for Yuna, for every human who ever reached for the stars and was told they were not worthy. He brought his hand down. "All ships, jump." 147 ships vanished into faster-than-light travel. The solar system fell silent behind them. On the Halloran border, a patrol fleet waited. 5 ships, all but well-armed, commanded by Captain Drethvan. He had served the Dominants for 60 years. He had fought in 3 wars. He did not fear anything. Then the human fleet arrived. They appeared like ghosts from nightmare. One moment, empty space. The next moment, ships everywhere. More ships than Drethvan had ever seen in one place. More firepower than he had imagined possible. "By the Ancient Ones," he whispered. His communication officer turned pale. "Sir, they are hailing us. Put it through." Admiral Shin's face appeared on the screen. His expression was calm. His eyes were not. "Halloran Patrol Fleet," he said. "You have 2 choices. Surrender your ships and allow us to pass, or we will destroy you. You have 30 seconds to decide." Drethvan's scales shifted through colors. Red, yellow, white, fear. He had never felt fear before. "We cannot surrender," he said. "We have orders. 20 seconds. Drethvan looked at his crew. They were young. Most of them had never seen real combat. They had joined the military because it was safe. Because no one challenged the Halloran dominance, thought everything had changed. 10 seconds, Admiral Shin announced. Drethvan closed his eyes. He thought of his family, his children, his grandchildren. He thought of all the years he had served his people. Then he thought of Unipark. He had watched the execution like everyone else. He had felt nothing then. Just another alien, dying for crimes against the Council. Now he felt something. He was not sure what it was. Shame, perhaps. Or understanding. "We surrender," he said quietly. The human ships surrounded them. Teams came aboard and took control of the weapons. No one was harmed. No one was insulted. The humans were professional, cold, efficient. One of them, a young lieutenant named Seung-ho Yu, stopped beside Drethvan. "You made the right choice," he said. "I made the only choice," Drethvan replied. "You would have destroyed us." Seung-ho nodded. "Yes, but we would have regretted it. We came for the ones who killed our ambassador, not for soldiers following orders." He walked away. Drethvan watched him go and felt something he had not expected. Respect. The fleet moved deeper into Haloran space. They destroyed military stations. They disabled weapons platforms. They captured supply ships and sent them back to Earth. At every step, they sent the same message. "We do not want your worlds. We do not want your people. We want justice for Unipark." The galaxy watched in shock. News spread faster than the fleet itself. The humans were coming. The primitives had weapons. The species that bred like insects and felt too much had awakened, and nothing could stop them. Taeseung Kwan had reached Earth 2 days after the execution. His shoulder was damaged. His body was broken. But his mind was clear. He told them everything. The false evidence. The rigged trial. Vethris and his plans. Now he served on the Resolve as an intelligence advisor. He knew the council station. He knew Haloran tactics. He knew every weakness they had tried to hide. He stood beside Captain Hyrin No as they approached their next target. A military academy where Haloran officers were trained. The same academy that had produced the soldiers who arrested Yuna. "Ground assault team is ready," Hyrin reported. "Awaiting your assessment, Advisor Kwan." Taeseung studied the display. The academy was well defended. Shields, ground cannons. A garrison of 500 soldiers. "Strike the power generators here and here," he said, pointing. "Their shields will fall. Drop teams on the eastern courtyard. Avoid the dormitories. Students there are young. Children, by their standards." Hyrin nodded. She had expected nothing else. The humans were not here for slaughter. They were here for something more important. The assault lasted 40 minutes. Human soldiers moved through the academy with precision. They destroyed weapons. They captured officers. They planted charges on every symbol of Haloran military power. When it was over, Hyrin No walked through the ruins herself. She carried a flag. Simple cloth, blue and white, with a single image. Earth seen from space. She planted it in the center of the courtyard. Around her, captured Haloran officers watched in silence. "We are not monsters," she said to them. "We did not come to enslave your people or burn your worlds. We came because you killed someone who wanted nothing but peace. Someone who believed that different species could work together. You called her a spy. You dissolved her into atoms. And you thought there would be no consequences." She gestured at the flag. "This is our answer. We are here. We will not leave until justice is served. And we will never, ever forget what you did." Her words were broadcast across the galaxy. Some species heard them with fear. Others heard them with hope. A few heard them and began to wonder if they had been wrong about humanity all along. In her office on Earth, President G1 Beak watched the flag rise over the Haloran Academy. She allowed herself one small smile. The sleeping giant was awake, and it was only getting started. The council chamber had never seen such chaos. High Arbiter Moloch struck his staff against the floor again and again, but no one listened. Counselors shouted at each other across the great hall. Some demanded war. Others demanded peace. A few had already fled the station entirely, racing back to their homeworlds to prepare for whatever came next. "Order!" Moloch bellowed. "I demand order!" Slowly the chamber quieted, but the tension remained. It hung in the air like poison. Counselor Vethris stood at his podium. His scales had lost their color. They were gray now, the shade of sickness and fear. 3 days ago, he had been the most powerful voice on the council. Now his own allies refused to meet his eyes. "The humans must be stopped," he said. His voice cracked. "They are destroying our military installations. They are capturing our officers. If we do not act now, they will what?" Interrupted a voice from across the chamber. Ambassador Wren of the Lithane Collective rose from her seat. She was small, even by Lithane standards, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. Her people had always been quiet on the council. They watched. They listened. They rarely spoke dot until now. "They have invaded Haloran space," she continued. "They have destroyed dozens of military targets. And in all that destruction, how many civilians have they killed?" The chamber went silent. "None." Wren answered her own question. "Not one. They spare medical ships. They avoid population centers. They send captured soldiers home with food and water." She pointed at Vethres. "These are not the actions of monsters. These are the actions of a people seeking justice." "Justice?" Vethres snarled. "They are invaders. They are victims." Wren shouted back. "We murdered their ambassador on false evidence. Evidence that you provided, Counselor. Evidence that many of us now believe was manufactured." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Other counselors nodded. They had seen the reports. They had heard the whispers. The story Vethres had told was falling apart. "The Lithane Collective withdraws its support from the Haloran dominance," Wren announced. "We will not fight against humans who have done nothing wrong except refuse to accept injustice." "Traitor!" Vethres screamed, but other voices joined Wren. The Tovani Federation, the Kellish Assembly, the Outer Rim Coalition. One by one, species that had stood with the Hellerans for centuries now turned away. High Arbiter Mollux watched his council crumble. He had led this body for 200 years. He had guided it through wars and plagues and disasters. But he had never seen anything like this. The humans had not just attacked with weapons. They had attacked with truth. And truth, he was learning, was far more dangerous deep in Haloran space. Admiral Dong Hashin received word of the Council's fracture. He sat in his quarters aboard the Resolve, reading reports that would have seemed impossible a week ago. "They are turning on each other," said Taesun Kwan. He stood by the door, his injured arm in a sling. "The alliance is breaking." "Good," Dongha replied. But his voice held no satisfaction. This was never about destroying the Hellerans. It was about showing the galaxy what really happened. Making them face the truth. Is it working? The Admiral looked at his old friend. Taesun had aged 10 years in the past week. Grief had carved lines into his face that would never fade. "It is working," Dongha said. But the price was too high. They shared a moment of silence. Both of them were thinking of Yuna, her smile, her hope, her belief that different species could find common ground. She had been wrong about the Council. But maybe she had been right about everything else. "Admiral." Captain Hyrin No's voice came through the communication system. "We are receiving a transmission from the Council station. Priority channel. Put it through." High Arbiter Mollux's face appeared on the display. He looked old, defeated. "Admiral Shin," he said, "I wish to discuss terms." Dongha leaned forward. "Terms for what?" "Peace," Mollux replied. "An end to this conflict. Before more damage is done." "Damage." The Admiral let the word hang in the air. "You dissolved our ambassador atom by atom. You broadcast it across the galaxy. You called it justice. And now you want to discuss damage?" Mollux flinched. "I understand your anger. You understand nothing." Dongha's voice was cold as space itself. "You had your chance for peace. Ambassador Park came to you with open hands. She offered friendship. She offered cooperation. You answered with lies and murder. He stood up. Here are my terms. The Haloran dominants will pay reparations to Earth for the death of Ambassador Park. Counselor Vethris will be arrested and tried for fabricating evidence and ordering an unlawful execution. The Council will restructure its voting system so that no single species can condemn another without proper trial. And humanity will receive full membership with all rights and privileges. Moloch's eyes widened. These terms are extreme. These terms are justice, Dongha interrupted. Accept them, or we continue our advance. The choice is yours. The transmission ended. Moloch sat alone in his chamber, surrounded by the ruins of everything he had built. On the Halaran homeworld, Counselor Vethris received the news. His own government had turned against him. His allies had abandoned him. The military he had trusted was shattered. He sat in his estate, once the grandest building on the planet, now surrounded by guards who answered to others. He was a prisoner in his own home. A message arrived from the council. His arrest warrant, his trial date, the charges against him. Vethris read them with shaking hands. Fabrication of evidence, conspiracy to commit murder, violation of council law. Each charge carried a sentence of permanent exile at minimum. At maximum, dissolution. The same fate he had given Una Park. He threw the message across the room. It clattered against the wall and fell to the floor. This is not fair, he whispered. I was protecting the galaxy. I was protecting us from them. But no one heard him. No one cared any more what he had intended. Only what he had done. Across the galaxy, the news spread. The council had accepted human terms. The war was over. Peace would return. But peace, everyone understood, would never be the same. Captain Hyrin No walked through the corridors of the Resolve. Her crew saluted as she passed. They had fought hard. They had proven themselves. But she saw no celebration in their eyes. They had won. But winning felt hollow when it could not bring back the dead. She found Lieutenant Sung-Ho Yu in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. He was young, brilliant. He had calculated attack patterns that no one else could have imagined. But right now, he looked like a tired child. We should be celebrating, he said without turning around. We won. We survived, Hyrin corrected. That is not the same thing. No, he agreed. It is not. They stood together in silence, watching the stars drift past. Somewhere out there, a memorial would be built. Una Park's name would be carved into stone or crystal or light. Future generations would visit it and learn about the woman who died for peace, but none of them would truly understand. None of them would know what it felt like to watch her dissolve into nothing, to feel hope die and rage take its place. What happens now? Sung-Ho asked .Hi-R. I hadn't thought about it. The treaty, the trials, the long process of rebuilding trust that might take centuries. Now we do what Una wanted, she said finally. We prove that humanity deserves its place among the stars. Not through war, not through fear, through everything she believed in. Even after what they did to her? Especially after what they did to her. Hyrin placed a hand on his shoulder. We carry her dream forward. That is how we honor her. That is how we win. Outside the window, the galaxy waited. Changed, humbled, uncertain. But for the first time, it was willing to listen. President G1 Beak walked the corridors of the council station, the same corridors Una Park had walked, the same walls that had witnessed her arrest, the same air that had carried her final words. G1 moved slowly. She wanted to feel this place, to understand it, to remember every detail. Behind her walked Admiral Dongha Shin and Taesung Kwan. Guards from Earth surrounded them, but they were unnecessary. The station posed no threat now. The war was over. Only the paperwork remained. High Arbiter Mollix waited at the entrance to the council chamber. He bowed as the humans approached. It was a deep bow. The bow of someone who had lost everything. "President Beak," he said, "welcome to the Galactic Council." G1 stopped before him. She studied his face, the cracks in his stone skin, the dim glow in his ancient eyes. "I watched you condemn my ambassador," she said quietly. "I watched you sentence her to death. You did nothing to stop it." Mollix lowered his head. "I know. Why?" The question hung between them. Simple, impossible. "Because I was afraid," Mollix admitted. "The Hellerans held too much power. Opposing them meant conflict. I chose peace over justice." He looked up, meeting her eyes. "I chose wrong." G1 said nothing for a long moment. Then she nodded once. "Yes, you did." She walked past him into the chamber. The council hall was full. Every species had sent representatives. Some came in hope. Others came in fear. All of them came because they understood that history was being made. G-1 took her place at the speaker's platform. The same platform where Una had stood, where she had offered friendship and received chains. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," G1 began. "3 weeks ago, you murdered my ambassador. You called her a spy. You dissolved her body and broadcast her death across the stars. You thought this would teach humanity our place." She paused. The chamber was absolutely silent. "You were wrong." Her voice hardened. "Una Park came to you with an offer of partnership. She brought medicine that could cure diseases your species had suffered for millennia. She brought technology that could have helped billions. She asked for nothing except the chance to work beside you as equals. And you killed her." G1 let the words sink in. "We could have responded with destruction. We could have burned worlds. We could have shown you the same cruelty you showed us. Some of my people wanted exactly that." She shook her head. "But that is not who we are. That is not what Una believed in. She dreamed of a galaxy where different species could work together, where strength meant lifting others up, not pushing them down, where justice meant more than power." G1 straightened. "Today, we honor that dream. Not through revenge, through change. The treaty before you will restructure this council. No single species will hold veto power over another. Every accused being will receive proper trial and representation. The mistakes that led to Una's death will never happen again." She looked around the chamber. "Some of you fear us. You think we are dangerous, unpredictable, that our emotions make us weak or make us monsters." A small smile crossed her face. "You are partly right. Our emotions are powerful. We feel things deeply. Love, anger, grief, hope. These feelings drive us to both terrible and wonderful things." Her smile faded. "But emotions are not weakness. They are what make us human. They are why we could not let Una's death go unanswered. They are also why we stopped when we could have continued. Why we spared civilians when we could have destroyed them. Why we are here today offering peace instead of demanding surrender." She gestured to the treaty document displayed above the chamber. "Sign this. Honor it, and we will work beside you as Una always wanted. Reject it, and we will leave. We will build our own alliances, our own future. Without you." The choice was clear, and everyone knew it. One by one, the counselors pressed their approval. Green lights filled the display, more green than the chamber had ever seen. The treaty passed. The trial of Counselor Vethris took place the following day. He stood in the same ring of light where Una had stood. He faced the same counselors who had condemned her. But this time, there were humans among the judges. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Communications proving he had fabricated the espionage charges. Records showing he had bribed witnesses. Testimony from his own staff, confessing their roles in the conspiracy. Vethris offered no defense. What could he say? The truth had been exposed. His lies had crumbled. High Arbiter Mollix read the verdict. Counselor Vethris, you have been found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, fabrication of evidence, and corruption of justice. Your sentence is permanent exile to the prison colony on Darkfall. You will remain there for the rest of your natural life. Guards led Vethris away. As he passed the human delegation, he stopped. You think you have won, he said to Admiral Shin. You think this changes anything. But you are still primitives. Insects playing at civilization. One day, the galaxy will see you for what you truly are. Dong Shin looked at him calmly. The galaxy has already seen. They watched Unipark face death with courage and dignity. They watched us respond with justice instead of genocide. They saw exactly what we are. He leaned closer. And they saw what you are too. The guards pulled Vethris away. He did not speak again. 3 months later, the memorial was completed. It stood in the exact spot where Unipark had died. A small garden, enclosed in crystal walls that let starlight filter through. Earth flowers grew there, tended by Lithane caretakers who had volunteered for the honor. At the center stood a statue. Not a grand monument. Just a simple figure of a woman with her hands open, reaching toward the sky. The dedication ceremony was small. President Beak had wanted it that way. This was not about politics or power. It was about remembering someone who had believed in something better. Tae Seung Kwan stood before the statue. He held a photograph in his hands. Yuna on the day she had been appointed ambassador, smiling with joy she could not contain. I failed you, he said quietly. I was supposed to protect you. I was supposed to bring you home. The garden was silent. The flowers swayed gently in the artificial breeze. But I kept my promise. I told them what happened. And they listened. He placed the photograph at the base of the statue. Earth listened. The galaxy listened. Your dream is still alive, Yuna. It is different now. Harder. But it is alive. He stepped back. His eyes were wet, but his voice was steady. Rest now. We will take it from here. Captain Hyrian No visited the memorial last. She came alone after the ceremony had ended and the dignitaries had departed. She stood in the garden as the station's lights dimmed for the night cycle. The statue glowed softly in the starlight. Yuna's face was peaceful. Her hands were still reaching. I never met you, Hyrian said. I only knew you through reports and recordings. But I feel like I knew you all the same. She touched the statue's base. You believed we could be better. All of us. Humans, Hellorans, everyone. You believed it so strongly that you died for it. She looked up at the stars visible through the crystal ceiling. We proved you right, in a way. We showed them what humanity can do. We showed them our fury and our mercy. Our strength and our restraint. Her voice softened. But the real proof comes now. Building the future you dreamed of. Making alliances that last. Earning the trust we demanded. She smiled sadly. That is the hard part. The part that takes generations instead of weeks. She straightened. I do not know if we will succeed. I do not know if the peace will hold. But I know we will try. Because that is what you would want. That is what you would do. She saluted the statue. Goodbye, Ambassador. Thank you for showing us the way. Then she turned and walked back into the station, back into the future that waited. Behind her, the garden remained. The flowers swayed. The statue reached for the stars. And somewhere in the galaxy, humanity's new chapter was beginning.